What is good? I am back with another reaction video. Joe Rogan talked about Brendan Schaub on the latest episode of his podcast on Spotify that they took down, then re-uploaded and edited some stuff out. But I'm going to play this, react to it, then give you my thoughts on it. But let's check out what Joe had to say about Brendan. Bappa, what are we doing here, B? I had to check this out.
Agree with what you're saying. I try, even as a commentator, because I'm in a weird spot where I'm talking about the fights.
Yeah.
I try to be as neutral as possible, and that's why it was insanely hard when Brendan Schaub was fighting. Dude, that was watching Schaub get beat up was some of the hardest. It was so hard for me. It was so hard for me. It was so hard because, like, I genuinely love that dude.
Yeah.
And I saw where this was going.
Is Joe about to cry?
And I was like, shit. Like, you got to get out now. Like, you got to get out now. Like, this is not something. There's a point of no return when a guy starts getting KO'd by giants. Giants. I mean, like Ben Rothwell. You ever been around Ben Rothwell?
No.
You want to feel like a feeble person? No. Shake hands with Ben Rothwell and you go, oh, well, you could just eat me if you wanted to.
Yeah.
There's dudes out there like that, like Tom Erickson. He was 300 pounds natural, just and one of the best wrestlers in MMA. He was 300 pounds. They called him the Big Cat because he was 300. But that's Ben Rothwell. That's a giant human being that should have a battle axe in his hand. Jesus. He should be showing up on a boat with one of them dragons at the front of it. You know those fucking Viking boats? Look at that, man. In another world, that guy would be fucking showing up at the front of the boat, and you would have a real problem on your hands.
Jesus, man.
There's a bunch of those dudes, man.
I sat with Brendan when he was getting ready to tell a story about he was doing the Ari thing. Yeah. And Ari's like, hit me up. He was like, hey, man, will you sit with Brendan and help him go over his story, help him figure it out? And he told me the whole story of that fight with Travis Brown. Yeah, Travis Brown. And it's fucking fascinating when you hear these guys talk about what goes through, especially, I think Brendan's, I don't mean this out of disrespect to anyone else, but I think he's a little bit more insightful about the things that maybe I would feel if I walked into the ring. Yes. You know, like who he sees and what's happening. Well, he's also honest and he can make fun of himself. Yeah, yeah. It's a little more humble in like the sense, and it was so connective. Like we did like an hour. He told me the whole story for an hour. And then we kind of talked about what highlights a good story and what makes a good story. It was really fucking fascinating. He's a great dude. He really is. And he's a fun guy to be around. That's why all his friends love him so much. You know, like people don't like him because he's first of all, you know, whether you judge his comedy or judge his podcast or judge whether, you also have to judge how he looks. And he's a beautiful man, and it's a real problem for people. Guy. He's a beautiful man, and he's like 6'5". Great head of hair. He's built like a fucking Adonis. It really is. It really makes people uncomfortable, me included. I'm his friend. He just has massive advantage, and the way you get to hate on him. But he's a great guy. If you just know him, he's a great guy. And I saw him getting hurt, and I was like, he doesn't really want to do this anymore. But he's doing this. It's like his it's incomparable because my martial arts competition days were very insignificant in comparison to his. You know, fighting. I mean, he knocked out Crow Cop. He knocked out Minotauro. So I'm not trying to compare myself to him, but I'm going to compare a moment in my life where I knew I had to stop competing because I wasn't really doing it anymore. I was I was training sort of, but I was also doing. That was Joe talking about Brendan. Hey, gee, what, do you want to go out with him, Joe? Relax there, buddy. I mean, come on. But I like Brendan Schaub too. People think I hate Brendan Schaub. I really don't. I just find it astonishing, some of the dumb stuff he says. Like, I remember when he threw Joe Rogan under the bus and kind of outed him, saying he's out there slinging. And they blocked my video about it. And then Joe Rogan even said something on a later podcast when he had all the guys in, like, oh, don't give that
don't show that to Brendan. He'll say something stupid or something. But I mean, Joe really does like Brendan Schaub. Brendan Schaub gets a lot of crap. His stand-up isn't that good, but what do you do? Not that many people's stand-up is that good, to be honest with you. But I'm really not a fan of stand-up comedy in general, because I have to watch a bunch of funny guys on podcasting and radio, then go do this thing called stand-up comedy, which makes them not funny, because they think that's what they want to be. If you ever look at it, the funniest stand-up comedians aren't funny outside of stand-up comedy. Like Dave Chappelle. Is Dave Chappelle's podcast, or when he's on a podcast, is that funny? No, but he's great at stand-up. But, oh, that was Joe almost crying talking about Brendan Schaub. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.